we're going to go over machinery costs today and relate those things to certain characteristics of farms, and then particularly at the end of this, we're going to talk about strategies on controlling and meeting machinery costs. What brings this topic up now is why we think controlling machinery costs is particularly important now as the economic situation where we're looking at, and in particular what we're looking at is a lower commodity prices in the future, while at the same time we've seen rises in non-line costs, so that what we're going to see is a squeeze on revenues or net returns. And so cost control is going to be one of those things that we're going to be looking at in the future. So what I'm going to do is just talk a little bit about those factors, the commodity price declines, non-line costs, to set up our power cost focus. And during that power cost focus, what I'm going to cover is what has happened to power costs, which is related to machinery here. What has happened to machinery since 2006 through 2012, some of the farm structural factors that impact those costs, and those factors would include productivity of farmland, farm size, and percent of acres grown corn. Talk about those. None of those determine what power costs will be, but they all have an influence. And then finally, let's talk about strategies for lowering costs. Starting here first with just sort of the general economic outlook, I'm going to set this up by showing national corn price, and this is the Illinois corn price. We follow this very closely. This shows national corn prices from 1975 through December 2013. These happen to be monthly prices, so we go through December 2013 here. Couple of things that you'll notice on this graph. First off is that from 1975 through 2006, corn prices didn't trend up or down. They were they varied a lot, but they varied around 240. So during that entire period from 1975 through 2006, we had prices in that 240 range. Again, sometimes they were considerably higher than that, sometimes lower than that, but there wasn't any trends. Sometimes we thought we were going to break out of that 240, like in 1995. We hit fairly high corn prices, at least for the time, but we came back down to that 240 level again. Actually went down low after 1995. In 2006, we believe we reached a new higher level of corn prices. And that new higher level was because of new demand, and that's corn use in ethanol. So in 2006, that demand really began ramping up, and we saw corn prices increase from there. Before 1975, we had a lower plateau before 1975, and it averaged 160 before 1975. If you remember that, you're officially old, and I do remember that. But the new demand that kind that raised that was foreign or exports to the Soviet Union at that point in time. In any case, 2006 we reached a new higher plateau, but we believe there's a lot of studies that have looked at this and would suggest that new higher plateau is around 450. We've been above that for the last. Well, we were above that for 2012, 2011, and 2010, and above that largely because of supply problems here and around the world, but now we're below that. And in fact, this year, this September, we went below that 450 level, and now last December we were at 430 and probably further below that in January. Reason why we went below that is because we had an average crop. Average crop brought us back below that 450 price, and sort of it's a little bit To think about the fact that we just had an average yielding year and we got below 450, what will happen if we ever have a big buster or above average trend year, and what can happen to prices? And again, just to give you a feel, 2012 we've had a 680 average price for corn. We're probably looking at a 455 for the 2013 market year. That's probably coming down. And we are currently projecting something in the $4 range for 2014. And that's given a normal crop. If we have a above average trend year, that you can see that price below $4, maybe averaging something in the 350 to 360 range, which, by the way, wasn't that long ago. That was 2009. And if we have, we could be above that if we have some supply problems here around the world. But in any case, we're looking at lower prices, $4 and $11 for soybeans. Obviously, that's going to take off revenue and tighten margins. At the same time these prices are coming down, cost will not be coming down to the same extent, nor at the same speed. This chart shows corn and soybean cost. This is non-land cost. So this is everything except the land cost. You would have to have a cash run if it's a cash run situation. But you can see that those costs increased pretty rapidly since 2006. And again, since 2006, in 2006, the non-land cost for corn was roughly in the 320 range. 2012, they were close to 580. So rapid increase between 2006 and 2012. And we're projecting that to come down a bit, primarily because of fertilizer price declines, but not to the same extent. Nothing that we could see bring that back down to 320 or 420 or anything of that nature. To give you a feel for why that's not likely to decline as that much is to look at what costs have increased the most since 2006. And this slide does that. Shows fertilizer, seed, machinery, depreciation, crop insurance. And those are the four costs that have increased the most between 2006 and 2012. You can see there that fertilizer, $200 cost in 2012, $83 increase, and that's the one cost where we expect to see some declines in 2014. Other large increase in cost is seed, and even that, I'll take a bet if anybody that wants to bet me that that will come down in 2014. I will take that bet. Machinery depreciation is related to purchases of machinery. So if purchases of machinery happened in 2012, for example, though this is an economic depreciation, assume that there's a 7-year life to that machine and spread that cost over that time period. So you can see there machinery depreciation increased $35, and again, that's related to machinery purchases, and we'll come back to that point in a minute when we find our crop insurance. But of those four major costs, the one that potentially will come down will be fertilizer. Given where we're at, lower revenues, emphasis on controlling cost will be again important. Agriculture is a commodity-based business, and so those cost controls are important. And again, we're moving back into the price environment where those become important. Some of those that we can look at are that seem particularly relevant to me now: cash rents, fertilizer, input decisions, and then finally machinery. I'm going to go over the cash rents, fertilizer, input decisions, and then finally get to the machinery area. This slide shows operator and farmland returns for Central Illinois And this happens to be high productivity farmland. The line that really I would like you to focus on is the final line there. Operator and farmland returns that corn 66%, beans 33%. Operator and farmland returns is what's left to pay the farmer and the land. So if we have an operator and farmland return of 482 like we did in 2010, pay a $300 cash rent, we still would have $182 left for the farmer. You can see there 2010, 2011, and 2012, the operator and farmland returns averaged over 2/3 corn, 1/3 soybean rotation, 482, 568, 516 in 2012. So high cash rents are good. High cash rents would work in those years. You know, $300, even $400 cash rents, farmer still has a return. We're projecting for 2013, 295. That's based on a 455 price, 1280 soybean price, and for 2014 a $245 operator and farmland return. So you can see there that doesn't support a lot of high cash rents, and so we're gonna see where the rubber hits the road. Particularly, my guess is in the 2014 negotiating season for 2015 cash rents. My indications that I've seen would say that 2014 cash rents did not come down from 2013 levels in most cases. So those negotiations will become critical. And again, given the price levels that we're at, don't support as high as cash rents as we've seen those go up to. Fertilizer prices are the second area where we can potentially see cost declines is in fertilizer. And prices have declined on fertilizers. And this slide shows prices for anhydrous ammonia, DAP, and potash as reported in the Ag Marketing Service. Last observation there at the very end, this goes from 2008 to 20, or the end of 20, actually the first part of 2014. Anhydrous ammonia was at 6 per ton at the end, and that compares to high $800 price for most of 2012. If we factor these price increases into our fertilizer cost estimates, we would move down from a $200 cost to roughly $140 to $130 per acre cost for corn. And soybeans would come down from something like $68 to $50. So those cost decreases will result in lower cost. Again, that's corn, $60 decrease. It's a significant decrease, but it still doesn't counteract $650 to $450 price decline. This also will be a time when I think looking at input decisions will become different than they have been in the past several years. Let me just give you an example here. Let's say we have an application of $15. It's going to cost $15 per acre. I don't care what it is. It could be a fungicide. And it's going to go on corn. Could be a rescue spray, fungicide, or insecticide spray later in the year. But at 650 corn, we needed 2.3 bushels of corn to make that pay off. So 2.3 bushels of corn at 650 would pay for that input. 450 is going to be 3.3 bushels. And again, that's just because of the price decline. Put $4 in there, you're going to see more bushels. Again, calibrating what were input decisions in 2010, 2011, and 2012, we're going to need to see higher bushel increases moving forward, which may cause some of the inputs that were made in 2010, 2011, 2012 not to be economical in 2014. Now we finally got the machinery, and now we're going to follow the material that's in the book. And again, what I'm going to do here is show what has happened to machinery cost, or what FBFM, I'm going to follow this by FBFM, power cost, look at some of those power cost relationships to farm structure, and then talk a bit about control of those power cost areas. Again, what I'm going to do here is use FBFM data to look at that. FBFM, there's about over 6,000 farms enrolled in the state. They have 60 field staff. Acres in FBFM account for about 25% of the acres farmed in Illinois. So, pretty sizable chunk of the acres are accounted for by FBFM. Here's where you see a list of website, email, and phone. If you want to get in contact, they're always taking no cooperators or references. So there's the state office, and they can direct you to the regional areas for enrollment at FBFM. What I'm going to do here is take a select portion, or take a portion of that data and look at power cost on a per acre basis. And to be included in this study, that farm had to be certified usable by FBFM staff or complete data. For this study, what I'm going to present here is those farms have received vast majority of their income from grain operations. Again, I'm going to show per acre cost numbers here. Putting a livestock farm in here would likely make those costs higher, just because the livestock operation is part on that farm. Also made the cut that farms have to have at least 500 tillable acres, and they had to have less than $10 per acre custom work income. Custom work income would be receiving funds for providing machinery services, which could be a combine operation or total farm or total field operations. That $10 number, and I'm not sure that's right or wrong, but it eliminated 25% of eligible farms. A lot of farms do a lot of custom work in this state. Why we did this, let me just give you an example. Let's say a farm had 1,000 acre total acres that they received income from, and custom farmed another 1,000 acres. They would have 2,000 acres of machinery expenses on 1,000 total acres. So just wanted to get that out of the area. Here is what has happened to power costs. This shows from 1995 through 2012. And again, power costs relate to machinery. Power cost in 2006, and from 2006 to 2012, increased pretty dramatically. 2006, we were roughly in the $60 an acre range. In 2012, we were in the $120 an acre range. The power cost went up at that level. To give you a feel for what went up there, and again, this is commercial grain farms in Illinois. Here's the composition of those costs and what goes into power costs. Machinery hire, which is any field operation performed by somebody else on that farm. FBFM tries to split out or get any custom spraying applications into machinery hire. Utilities are thrown in there. As you can see there, they don't add up much. Machinery repairs, fuel and oil, light vehicles, pickup, and depreciation to come up with a total power cost of $68 in 2006 and $124 in 2012. You can see there that all of those costs increased. The bigger one that increased, the one with the largest increase was depreciation, which is here is an economic depreciation. It's not a tax depreciation. Went from $19 an acre up to $52 an acre. Again, that's related to machinery purchases and spreading that cost out over the life of that machine. That went up primarily because in 2010, 2011, and 2012, farmers had good incomes and made active machinery purchases during those years. And I'm not criticizing that strategy at all. I'm not saying that is bad, but in fact, it makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of sense. Farmers had good incomes. They wanted to not shelter that income from taxes, and they made machinery purchases. Just to give you a feel for the change, prior to 2006, around the middle parts of 2000 and 2005, farms averaged between 40 and 50 of new machinery purchases every year. 2010, 2011, and 2012, so over $100 an acre. Again, purchase that equipment, wrote it off very quickly using Section 179 fast depreciation methods. Again, that's not criticizing that at all. That if you want to shelter income from taxes, that's a strategy. There's one negative to that strategy, though, is that a lot of the depreciation purchases during that year were written off, and many farms have very low tax rate. Just to give you a feel, I know farms where there's $50 of economic depreciation moving into 2014, which is different from tax. The economic depreciation isn't tax. And tax depreciation of $8. So we might see lower incomes moving forward, but we don't have the tax shield there, so we could still see high tax liabilities. This tax liabilities for 2013 will be likely very sizable on many farms. Sort of interesting here, just depreciation went up 174%, machinery repairs went up 53%, sort of ironic about the replacing the machinery repairs don't come out. Don't know exactly what's going on there. It might be new GPS equipment, etc., some of the items that go into that. There is a considerable range in machinery cost. Here you can see that 10% of the farms have below $80 cost per acre. 25% have below $93 an acre. 10% have more than $153 an acre. So we're talking about those averages here, 124. There's a range around that. And there isn't much that I can explain that range by. I'm going to show you some relationships here between power cost, profitability, soil productivity, farm size, and percent acres in corn, but they aren't by any stretch. Those relationships don't explain variability. So we're going to talk about variability in some of the factors, but I can find, for example, 600 acre farm that has very low power cost, and so there's trends here, but they're not all that deterministic, if you will. Here's one of those, and that is if you look at power cost and farmland returns, as power cost increase, we see operator returns decline. Each one of those blue dots is a farm, and the farm's power cost is given on the horizontal axis or the lower axis. The vertical axis gives its operator returns. So you can see here, power costs go up, returns go down, but that's a scan. You took a shotgun and hit that slide there, but that is a statistically significant relationship. One thing, prior to 2006, this relationship between power cost and machinery was much stronger. So now we might be moving into a period where that becomes more strong again. We see a relationship between soil productivity and power cost. As productivity increases, we see lower power cost. Here, just to give you an example, expected corn yield of 195 bushels is $8 per acre lower cost than a farm with 180 bushels. A lot of that may be the southern Illinois, because there's some southern Illinois farms in here. And when we go to southern Illinois, we have wheat, double crop soybeans in that rotation, which will, because we have two crops that have higher cost. Another thing that's going on may be that more productive land has more field days than lower productivity land. We do see a strong relationship between power cost and farm size. But again, remember, we're looking at a scatter. We find in this data that the lowest power costs come from farms in the 3,000 to 4,000 acre range, and then it goes up. Again, I can find farms that are 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 acres that have very low power costs, as well as high for that matter, and farms with 5,000 acres that have low power costs. I attribute that 3,000 to 4,000 acre low there to be caused by combine harvesting relationships. And so 3,000 to 4,000 acres is where you can use one combine fully. When you get above that, you sort of get an awkward farm size. So if I can use one combine to harvest 3,500 acres and need two to do 4,500 acres, my cost will then go up. Just simply because I get more combines per acre than not. Again, it's a relationship. We see it isn't determinism. You can, large and small farms can work around that. Finally, we do see, as we go increase power cost percent, as more farms have more acres in the corn result, we see power costs go up. And here, just to give you an example, 50-50 corn rotation, move to 2/3, 1/3, costs go up $10.50 on average. Go to 75%, they go up, and now they're $8.90. A couple things likely are going on there. Harvesting capability or harvesting capacity likely goes up as you harvest more corn. You need more hauling equipment, slower harvest. And as we move to more corn, we also tend to see more tillage operations. So both of those things may contribute to those costs. I also suggest that if you're moving to more corn, controlling those items is important. Those can quickly wipe out any profits from moving to more corn. Fine, strategies. Just a couple of points here. Here we're showing field operation costs, and this is the cost per acre. These come from machinery cost estimates on the Farm.gov website. 2 points here. First is that you'll notice that these harvesting costs are by far the largest cost. And these costs don't include, these are just the combining costs, or harvesting costs. They don't include the grain hauling cost. So if you add that to it, harvesting is over 50% of the machinery cost on the farm. So if you want to look at one area where cost control is the most critical, it's in that harvesting area. The second point here is if you look at the next highest cost, they're almost always heavy tillage, some sort of chiseled or offset disc or something of that nature. If we do more of those operations, we will add cost to those farms. So really looking at those tillage operations and whether they have benefits as far as revenue is probably more critical now as we're moving into a period of lower revenue. Looking at those harvesting costs, we almost always find a very strong relationship between combine cost and acres harvested. And this just gives 3 examples of spreading out a 6-row, 8-row, and a 12-row machine, spreading that out over more harvesting acres, and as you can see there, those costs go down considerably in that 3 and reach pretty low levels in a 3,000 to 4,000 acre range. Combine use over more acres will will usually reduce cost. This doesn't necessarily mean that a smaller farm faces a disadvantage, but sharing equipment combined would lower cost in those situations. Finally, in the strategies area, here you can argue, and I can make any one of those costs go up or down. Combine tractor, but as you're looking at that operation, combines is the most expensive new investment, followed by tractors. And tractors per tillable acre have a pretty large impact on total cost. And again, ownership and operating costs are those that have the largest impact. If you have 3 large tractors versus 2 large tractors, the 2 will have lower costs. So coming up with matching the inventory with the farm size is critical. Summary here, power cost control strategies. First one is that we likely need to slow down purchases of new machinery. One of the studies that the Kansas City Fed did back in the 1980s, the incomes were up here, they came down. Machinery purchases stayed up here, but they didn't follow. Incomes down. So as we're moving into a period of lower commodity returns, slowing down those machinery purchases is a prudent move. Optimizing combine use, and again, smaller farm sharing equipment over more acres is likely to be a key for lowering those combine costs. Performing only necessary tillage operations, again, because if you're looking at the second largest cost on a farm as far as machinery is combining, power cost or tillage cost, heavy tillage cost, and then finally maintaining a proper amount of equipment are strategies for controlling costs. Appreciate your time. Turn this back over to Tom.